Yo, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Today I'm going to pleasure you with another guide, and this is going to be a quick one because the next phase of SOD is going to come out with a whole bunch of new runes. That'll probably change things in a major way, so this video will be somewhat outdated fairly quickly, but this guide will hopefully get you on the right track so that you have a good foundation to work off of for when things get even harder down the line. And surprisingly, things are very hard already. Mage is a very complex healer, which is something that I wasn't expecting, but that's how it ended up being. And honestly, I'm not complaining. I do like a good challenge. Now, keep in mind that the purpose of this guide is to teach you how to maximize your healing, because that is what matters for progression. Obviously, in BFD's current state, you can just spam damage all day long because the boss is dying in 2 milliseconds, but that is not what this guide is about. So let's get started, shall we? The first thing you need to know about any healer in SOD is that your mana bar matters. And when mana matters, the gameplay becomes all about using your best spells as much as possible, and your worst spells as little as possible. And that is why priests do the penance and prayer mending thing, druids do the wild growth and healing touch thing, pallies do the flash of light thing, and shamans do the who the fuck cares nobody plays shaman thing. So as a mage, what are your best spells? Well, if you take a gander at these lists here, you'll notice that these 3 spells are at the top of both lists, which means that those are the spells that you want to be using as much as possible. And in the case of Living Flame, it's a 60-second cooldown. Your main focus with this spell is to maximize the effective healing that it does. And by effective healing, I mean healing that is not overhealing. These other 3 spells, you don't really want to use them that much unless you have a ton of mana to burn through, which you certainly will if you have Evocation off cooldown. And I'm hoping that Blizzard reduces the cooldown of Evocation to 3 minutes so that you can actually use it on every attempt of a boss. Because during progression, you're going to have Evocation up for one pull of a boss, and then you won't have it up for the next pull. That is literally retarded. But since Evocation is unfortunately an 8-minute cooldown, you might not have it up when you really need it, so we do need to know how that affects our gameplay. Well, when you want to conserve mana, all you have to do is use these 3 spells as much as possible, and just don't use these spells unless you have to. When you do have Evo available, you can spend your mana much more aggressively, which means you can use all of your spells, except Arcane Explosion because that shit's trash. Don't worry too much about clear casting procs either, they don't really matter. Just don't use clear casting procs on Arcane Explosion, okay, or I'll literally call the cops on you. So now you know what spells to use. But how do you maximize their healing? Well, for mass regeneration, it's as simple as using it whenever 2 or more people in a group take damage. Arcane Blast is a little bit harder to maximize. You basically want to try and use it every 6 seconds. I have a Weakauras here that lights up when there's 2.5 seconds left on the debuff so that I know when to start casting Arcane Blast again. That Weakauras will be in the description below. Now there's 2 things that will prevent you from using Arcane Blast every 6 seconds. The first is a mass regeneration opportunity. Mass regen takes priority over Arcane Blast unless you're trying to conserve mana because Arcane Blast is higher healing per mana. The other thing that takes priority over Arcane Blast is applying beacons to the raid. So for example, if I'm on the turtle boss and I'm preemptively applying beacons to the entire raid to try and get a fat living flame, I'm not just going to stop what I'm doing to cast an Arcane Blast. And speaking of living flame, that is how you're supposed to use it. You're supposed to apply at least 5 beacons to the raid preemptively, then press Living Flame, and then after that, you beacon the rest of the raid, and then start spamming Arcane Blast. Let me show you what that looks like in action. So here we go, we're getting about ready to pull the boss. I pre-beacon the tank for the pull, get in the range of the boss, cast an Arcane Blast, just, because why not? And then I start pre-beaconing the entire raid. I do it a little bit early, but it's fine. I should have used Living Flame right now, because that's 5 beacons right there, but I get a little greedy and use Living Flame now instead, which is a little bit too late. People almost died because I delayed for too long. But anyways, I got all my beacons out, and I start spamming Arcane Blast, so we got Living Flame and Arcane Blast spam healing everyone in the raid, so I'm doing fat HBS right now. I forgot to refresh beacon on the tank, which was unfortunate, but I do it now. So I put beacon on 3 people here, and then you don't have to do the full channel of regeneration. You just need to get the beacon on them, and then you just start spamming Arcane Blast. The Arcane Blast is going to heal them regardless, so that's why you don't have to do the full channel. But yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. It's a little bit hard to execute because you can get fucked over by like a million different things, but that's how you do the turtle boss. So there's a lot of debate online about mass regen versus living flame, which one you should use on which boss. So I'll clear that up right now for you. Living flame works best on bosses that have a large amount of predictable and unavoidable damage. Essentially only the turtle boss in this raid tier, because living flame requires a large amount of setup to maximize the healing portion of it, and it also dumps your entire mana bar since you have to single target regen the whole raid. And in order to invest that much of your time and resources into living flame, you need to know with absolute certainty that the raid is going to get fucked up. And you only know for certain that the raid is going to get fucked up on the turtle boss. For every other boss, mass regen is better, especially on the Murlock boss. And remember what I said at the beginning of this video. This guide is to show you how to play during progress, not how to play when the bosses are heavily on farm like they are now. So about the Murlock. One very important thing to know about this boss is that your Arcane Blast healing is unaffected by the intermission phase. So even though your Arcane Blasts are hitting the boss for 2, your healing remains the same. Other than that, just make sure that you have evocation up for the boss, and always try to be casting either Mass Regen or Arcane Blast during the intermissions. Let's take a look. Alright, here we go, Start off with an Arcane Blast, get that Arcane Blast shit going. That's a Mass Regen opportunity if I've ever seen one. Oh yeah, baby. Decurse that bullshit. Arcane Blast again, do it. Good boy, good boy. I pre-beacon the range there. Just as a safety precaution, as you can see it worked out. Gar's taking damage there. The priest is taking damage, so that worked out pretty well. Now I got a fat mass regen coming up with 4 stacks because I just spammed Arcane Blast like crazy there. Here I go, just spamming Arcane Blast and mass regen. Just kind of spam them as much as possible. More Arcane Blast, getting fat value here. This is a really good phase for me. That's a mass regen. Oh yeah. Looking good, looking good. I use evocation because the boss is about to go into the next intermission. And we just go back to spamming Mass Regen and Arcane Blast. Here we go. The priest is dead because he's an autistic loser. The warrior looks like he's gonna be dead. Yeah, he's dead too. There's a bunch of spurgs in my guild. I don't know, they're all like fucking retarded. Anyways, you know, just doing this thing, getting kind of fucked by RNG in this phase. But we're doing okay. Now it's just Arcane Blast spam until the end of the fight, pretty much. Except I have to decurse this bullshit. Decurse, you know. And the boss is dead. Pretty easy, you know. Just a lot of mass regen, Arcane Blast, not too bad. Now for Totem Boy, all you really have to do is make sure that you're looking at your DPM timers. The instant the boss is activated, you're going to see a Wind Fury Totem countdown. And then immediately after the Wind Fury Totem is placed, you'll see a Lightning Totem countdown. The Lightning Totem is the one that you want to pre-beacon the raid for. So the instant you see the Lightning Totem timer, you're going to cast Mass Regen on one of the groups, and then when it comes off a cooldown, you Mass Regen the other group and start casting Arcane Blast. That way you'll have beacon on the whole raid for when the Lightning Totem is placed, and you can unleash a shit ton of healing right off the rip. Alright, let's take a look at this boss. Got a clear casting right off the rip, that's kind of hot. And I just threw out an Arcane Blast. Don't know why I threw out 2 Arcane Blasts, that was kind of a waste. I guess it doesn't matter because I'm at 100% mana. As I'm just kind of like trying to conserve mana a little bit, just cast an Arcane Blast every 6 seconds. Throwing out a few wand ticks because I'm a role player. Nothing too crazy. More Arcane Blasts. I think I fucked up the timing of that one, but it doesn't matter. Get sniped by Circle of Healing because I hate this game. More Arcane Blasts. Trying to get any Arcane Blasts off. It's really hard when everything dies in 2 milliseconds. And here comes the boss. So you see the Wind Fury timer there. And then there's a Lightning Shield timer. So I pre-beacon one of the groups, and then wait for it to come off cooldown. Pre-beacon the second group, start casting Arcane Blast, and I get a big Arcane Blast on the whole raid as they take damage here. I get 2 Arcane Blasts. Nice and fat Arcane Blast. That's exactly how you want to do it. And then I just do a little bit of tank healing here, you know. Nothing too crazy. Get sniped by a circle of healing again. I want to kill myself. And here we go. I'm pre-beaconing for the next Lightning Shield. There's a Lightning Shield timer right there. Here we go, pre-beacon the other group. And the boss dies before casting Lightning Shield because this fucking game is trash. Ugh. Anyways, for Weakauras, you're going to want to make sure you have Evocation up so that you can use single target regen as much as possible to deal with the Mind Blast damage. The game plan here is to spend as much mana as possible in Phase 1, evocate your mana back to full before Phase 2 starts, and then dump your mana bar again. If you don't have Evocation up, then just don't use single target regen unless you have to. Let your co-healer heal any of that damage that you would usually use single target regen on. Alright, here we go. Look at my mage, he's so tall and black, it's insane. Okay, I start machine gunning out the Arcane Blast, trying to myself as fast as possible. Get a nice mass regen opportunity there because one of the DPS decides to take damage. Spam out some more Arcane Blasts, trying to get a nice evocation off before Phase 2. That's why I'm spending my mana so fast. Here we go, getting a big fat mass regen there as well. Just spamming my good spells. Remember, spam the good spells. Don't use the bad ones unless you have to. Although I'm trying to spend mana really fast so I can use my bad spells, which I do right here. See, I use 2 single target regens there, because why not? I'm going to use Evocation anyways right now. There we go, Evocate my mana back to full for Phase 2. Start spamming more Arcane Blast, getting a lot of Arcane Blast stacks. Get a nice fat pre-mass regen there. Love that. More Arcane Blast. The Rose getting his little pussy fucked. We love that. And the boss is dead already. Whew. That was a close one. Isn't this raid fun? Such a great raid. Now for the last boss, you probably won't have Evocation up, so you'll have to play more conservatively. The most conservative single target rotations are Arcane Blast into Wanding, Arcane Blast ×2 into Wanding, or Arcane Blast ×2 into Regeneration. Speaking of Wanding, let me talk about that a little bit. Wanding is extremely overrated. You don't want to think about Wanding as free healing, because what it actually is free overhealing. Remember that you're going to be using Arcane Blast every 6 seconds, and when the tank damage is high, you're going to be using Arcane Blast a hell of a lot more than that, which means you won't have time to wand. The only situation where you'll have time to wand is when there's hardly any damage going out. And if there's hardly any damage going out, well, you're still going to be using Arcane Blast every 6 seconds, which means all the wanding does is cause your next Arcane Blast to overheal. That's it. So from a healing perspective, it's a waste of time. But anyways, let's get into those boss. Alright, starting the boss at 84 mana. That's a good start. Get a fat Arcane Blast though. I'm opting for the 2 Arcane Blast into single target regeneration tank healing strategy. It's pretty efficient. This time I opted for the 3 Arcane Blast Arcane Missile strategy for Big Dam, although I probably shouldn't have because I need to play more conservative with my mana since I don't have Evocation off cooldown and the boss is only at 60%. So I should have chilled out there and just done the 2 Arcane Blasts into single target regen instead. But it is what it is. Anyways, the tank's taking big damage there. Whenever the tank is taking damage, you have to be casting something. Okay, so make sure you're casting either Arcane Blast or Regen or something. Just don't be casting nothing. And I fucking timed that Arcane Blast wrong, so I got 2 stacks. I hate myself. I timed that one correct though. Yep, okay, the other guy's getting fucked there, so I single target regen him. Get a nice mass regen opportunity here that gets sniped by Circle of Healing. God fucking damn it! But at least I get Arcane Blast off. These are some good Arcane Blasts. These are good. Okay, stop casting. No. Okay, yeah, stop casting Arcane Blasts. Okay, you're at 10% mana now. Stop it. Stop it, me. Just stop it. Just stop. Okay, this Arcane Blast is fine. Tanky's his last stand at full health. What a Chad. And yeah, the fight's about over. Single target regen for no reason. And yeah. Probably could have played that a little bit more conservative. But that's generally what it's supposed to look like. Although I'm kind of losing my mind watching this because the bosses die so fast. So it's like, ugh, God, whatever. Just move on, you know what I mean? Just fucking kill me. Any Hoosers, that's about it. Oh, by the way, if you want a really nifty add-on, download Stat Weights Classic. It shows you the HBM and HBS of every spell when you hover over it. It's such a great add-on, honestly. It's very sexually stimulating. I highly recommend it. And that's the end of my guide. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Have yourselves a good day. Now get the fuck out of here!